Alright guys, here an explanation about exercise 39D, where you need to factorize completely. And if you want to use the product sum method immediately, that's not possible, because it starts with x to the power of 3 and then minus 20x squared plus 100x. So before we start with the product sum method, we need to factorize, and we need to look at the three different terms. What do they have in common? So we're gonna look at those three terms, and I see that they have the x in common. So outside bracket we can take the x, and what you still have is x squared minus 20x and plus 100. And why? Because you can divide x to the power of 3 with x, that's x squared. If you divide minus 20x squared with x, you still have minus 20x, and if you divide 100x with x, you still have left 100. Now we can use the product sum method inside our brackets. So we already have x, and we need to multiply it with something, and we need to multiply it with something else. Alright, so we need to look at a product, what needs to be together, or what the answer needs to be 100. And if we add those two numbers, we need to get minus 20. Okay, let me just have a look what we all know. Now let me just start with the easiest one. 1 times 100, that's 100. But if I add those two numbers, you get 101. And that's not even close to the minus 20. So you can leave the number 1 and 100. So we go on with 2 and 50. Because 2 times 50 is 100. But if you add them, you get 52. And again, it's not even close with the minus 20. Yeah, so if you had 20 or minus 20, then we know we are very close. But the 2 and the 50 is not correct. So we go on, 4 and 25. If I multiply those two numbers, you get 100. But if you add them, you get 29. Okay, go on, maybe 5 and 20. Because 5 times 20 is again 100, but if you add those two numbers, you get 25. Maybe you think that you are already there with all the multiplications, but what if you do 10 times 10? Because 10 times 10 is 100, and 10 plus 10 is 20. Hey, wait a second. 10 and 10 is 100, but we do not need a positive 20, but we need a negative 20. So if I change the positive 10 in a minus 10, and the positive 10 again with a minus 10, because negative times negative is positive, and if I add those two numbers, so minus 10 plus minus 10, and minus and plus and minus is a minus together, so minus 10 is minus 20. So we have the two numbers. So it is x minus 10 and again x minus 10. So if you multiply out the bracket, you get x to the power of 3 minus 20x squared plus 100x. So this is the solution of exercise 39D.